It is day 4 of the ongoing government shutdown, the first of President Trump's second term, and Republicans who hold control of the White House and Congress are blaming the shutdown on Democrats. But voters aren't exactly buying the GOP's finger pointing, at least right now. A recent Washington Post poll finds 47% of adults blame Trump and Republicans for the shutdown versus 30% for Democrats. And 23% say they're not really sure who to blame. Meanwhile, Democrats are showing no signs that they're going to capitulate to Trump's demands. Here's what House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told our colleague Ali Velshi.
Republicans thought that we would back down as a result of their deepfake videos, threats, project cancellations, and lies. But Democrats aren't going to bend. Democrats are not going to break because we're standing up for the health care of working-class Americans, middle-class Americans, and everyday Americans.
And joining us now is Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's also ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, good to see you this evening. So tell us, have you spoken with Leader Jeffries? And what more are you hearing from him and other Democratic leaders on the next steps?
Well, the American people get the point about this, as Hakeem was saying. They understand that the Republicans have been trying to shut the government down ever since they got into power in January. And we've seen that whether we're talking about the anti-human trafficking program or the anti-malaria program at AID or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or biomedical and public health research at NIH, they've been trying to dismantle the government, and now it reaches its natural conclusion when they just try to shut the whole thing down in order to do a couple of different things. One is to preserve their destruction of the healthcare system for our people, to take away the ACA tax credits that millions of Americans depend on, to take away Medicaid coverage for millions of Americans, to transfer all that money up the income wealth ladder to the wealthiest people in the country. And also, they're able to skip town and avoid having to deal with the Epstein file, which, of course, they had been demanding until they realized what was in there. And suddenly they turned on a dime, and now they're doing everything they can to sweep it under a rug. Well, they don't want to swear in the 218th signature on that discharge petition, our new colleague from Arizona. And so it suits them just fine not to be there. Why were we in Washington all this last week waiting for them, begging them to come back and do their job? But they just don't want to do it. So we are very unified and focused on getting the government open again on terms where the American people's health care is secure.
Congressman, I just don't understand why there isn't a sense of urgency over getting the government back to work, ending the shutdown. And Mike Johnson has called recess for next week, and representatives are back at their home districts. When you have critical defense civilian workers, they're off. They're not working. You have TSA workers working for free. You have troops who their next paycheck might be delayed. Where is the sense of urgency to settle this?
Well, it's a great question. Where is the urgency when hundreds of thousands of federal workers are looking at not having a paycheck and not being able to make ends meet? Like more than half of the country, most federal workers are living from paycheck to paycheck, and they can't go on like this. And it's the same thing with people's health care. People need those ACA tax credits. They're not going to be able to afford a 30 or 40 or 50% increase in the premiums on their health insurance plans, which means they're simply going to be going without health insurance. It's a very dangerous thing. It's going to drive everybody's health insurance costs up. So we consider it an emergency all around. And meantime, over in the Trump White House, they're building a gilded ballroom for their billionaire donors to have some more black tie dinners and waltzes over there. I mean, it's just deranged what's happening. It's a money-making operation for these people. Trump has made billions of dollars since this has started. Jared Kushner is back in the money again with more deals and so on. And meantime, this war on the middle class just keeps going every single day.
We're going to get to the grift in the next block, Congressman, but I do want to just ask you about the messaging. The Republicans have narrowed the messaging down to this bold-faced lie that you and the Democratic Party are about giving illegal migrants in this country health care. I think everybody knows that's not true. And more importantly, the idea that emergency hospitals are supposed to check people's immigration status before offering care to treatment is what they're hanging this on. And I'm worried about the messaging game here. They've used this lie to go out to the American people. So far, the American people are not buying it. As you said, most people are blaming the Republicans right now for this shutdown. But as this drags down, how do you and the Democratic Party counter this message from Republicans that is based on a lie?
Well, it is a lie because Medicaid and Social Security and Medicare don't cover illegal aliens. It's not happening, and nobody's arguing for that. Like I, confronted the vice president yesterday in a tweet saying it's not true, it's a lie, and you know it. So if we take that off the table, do you support restoring health care for millions of Americans who are being threatened with a loss of health care because of your plans? And he just refused to answer it, and he just went radio silent. They've got no answer to that. The American people are waking up. And meantime, while they're fictionalizing about illegal aliens and undocumented people getting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and ACA and so on, they're out there making deals with all kinds of corrupt foreign governments for their family and for Donald Trump. He's collected millions and millions and millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. Jared Kushner is in the money with that same group of Gulf dictatorships. He's collected more than $170 million in fees from that group of countries. They're the ones who are actually compromising the security of the country with their relationships with corrupt foreign governments all over the world. And they're making things up about illegal aliens so they can try to mask the fact that they're cheating millions and millions of United States citizens of their health care.